For those of you who caught the recap that was recorded at 1:15 in the morning, you saw that I had some audio issues, or rather you heard that I had some audio issues, so I decided to do an episode of The Freeze this morning to get my thoughts out there and have them sound a little bit more crisp. I don't know how long this is going to last. Yankees have won 13 straight. They're going for the league high of 14 for 2021 anyway today. Nestor Cortez Jr. on the mound. And Nasty Nestor has been a revelation for the Yankees. I love his moxie, and he's a guy I definitely trust to go out there. And I like him following up Garrett Cole because he's completely different. You go from a guy who throws 100 miles an hour and pumps fastballs by you from the right side to a crafty lefty who drops down, who throws sidearm, who freezes in his motion, who throws about 88 to 91 miles an hour. It's two completely different looks, and I love that the Yankees are doing that. It just adds a little bit extra of a dimension for the A's or for whomever to deal with. I've seen a lot of people comparing the Yankees right now to the 1998 team, which is my favorite team of all time. It's my favorite summer of all time. That was the year of the home run chase. Yankees went 125 and 50, including the playoffs. That was a summer to behold. But as good as this team has been lately, they're still not as good as the 98 team. I mean, that team had Mariano Rivera, who was a shutdown closer. That team scored 965 runs and allowed just 656 runs. They, of course, beat the Padres 4-0 in the World Series. That was just a once-in-a-lifetime squad. I mean, you had Derek Jeter having a great year, 7.5 WAR. Paul O'Neill had a fantastic year. Tino Martinez was on that team. He got off to a really hot start before he got drilled in the back with a fastball. That was against the Orioles, I believe. And he was never quite the same after that. He had hit 44 home runs the season before, ended up with 28 that year. That led the Yankees. That's as many as Judge has right now. This current team definitely hits more home runs. But the OPSs going down that 98 roster. Jorge Posada had an 824 OPS, 17 homers, 63 RBIs. Tino was at 860. Chuck Knobloch, who was their big offseason acquisition, he had a 765 OPS. He hit 265 with 17 home runs and 64 ribbies, had 31 stolen bases, and that was seen as kind of a down year. He had stolen 62 bases the year before, I believe. Derek Jeter hit 324 that year, 19 home runs, 84 ribbies. He swiped 30 bags, 864 OPS. Scott Brosius hit 300 out of the 9-hole after being acquired from the Oakland A's. 19 home runs, 98 ribbies. He won World Series MVP. A couple of big home runs off of Hoffman. Chad Curtis was their primary left fielder, but they also had Shane Spencer and Ricky Leday, a couple of rookies who could get it done. You had Darryl Strawberry, though he was primarily a DH. He played in 101 games that year, hit 247 with 24 homers. Bernie Williams that year hit 339. He won the batting title, 26 homers, 97 RBIs. He was like a switch-hitting DJ LeMahieu of last year. That's how good he was, and he could run down anything in center field. He didn't make a lot of diving catches because he was standing under it. He was so fast. Paul O'Neill that year hit 317, 24 home runs, 116 ribbies. He was the equivalent of an automatic RBI machine if you came up with a runner on third in less than 2 outs. He would just make contact, get it in play, hit a sac fly. He was all about getting that run in. You had Tim Raines, future Hall of Famer, as a bench player. Joe Girardi was your backup catcher. He had a solid year. Chili Davis was with that team partially. He spent a lot of time on the injured list, but still, 291, 3 homers, 9 RBIs in 103 at-bats. Homer Bush was a threat. He hit 380 off the bench in 78 plate appearances. Swiped 6 bags. I thought he stole more bags. I would have figured Homer Bush stole 20 bags. He was super fast. That was a pretty solid pitching staff, too. Andy Pettitte, 16 and 11, 4.24. David Wells threw the perfect game that year, 18 and 4, 3.49. David Cone, 20 and 7, 3.55. Hideki Irabu, the Japanese Nolan Ryan, had his best season in the majors. He won the Pitcher of the Month for May that year. He was 13 and 9 with a 4.06. And then rookie Orlando Hernandez was 12 and 4 with a 3.13 ERA in 21 starts. He was money in the postseason. That was a great team, and I'm sorry I spent 4 minutes talking about a team that was, over 20 years ago. But this team, this Yankees team, this current team, could not beat the 98 team. I don't care how well they're playing right now. But good news for the Yankees, they don't have to beat the 98 team. They just have to beat whoever's in front of them. The Rays seem to be playing pretty well and maintaining their division lead against the Yankees. It'll be interesting to see what happens when those two teams match up again. Won't happen until the final weekend of the season. The Yankees need to win, probably close to 20 in a row simply because the Rays keep on winning. And right now they're playing the Orioles again, and the Orioles are no match for the Rays. The Rays are really good at beating the teams they have to beat. The Yankees earlier this year, not so much. They really struggled against the AL East. They struggled against the Red Sox early on. They struggled a lot against the Blue Jays early on. They haven't had as much difficulty with the Rays. I feel like they've played the Rays pretty tough because they don't like the Rays. There's a lot of animosity between those two teams dating back several years. I tell you what, that would be a great playoff matchup once again. You just hope you don't have to burn through Garrett Cole to get there. But Garrett Cole against a potential wild card matchup, the Oakland A's, although he did his job to put them a little further back last night. Garrett Cole dominated, and he allowed 6 hits and 2 walks, but no runs, so he was kind of in and out of trouble. But we saw that good explosive fastball. We saw the good changeup last night, good breaking ball. His command was not as good as we've seen it, and not that he was walking a ton of guys, but he had some deep counts. He was over 100 pitches in 6 innings. But still, nice enough job to get it done. Yankees offense explodes. Giancarlo Stanton is unconscious again. We saw this in May where he went off, and now he's doing it again in August. We saw it in the playoffs last year. And he can do this for a long time if he stays healthy. And he's been healthy for a while now. Playing the outfield in the summer, in the heat, it seems to have loosened up his muscles. And he seems to be pretty healthy right now. And he is on fire. Massive home run last night, 472 feet. Aaron Judge went deep last night. And I don't know the precise record, but the Yankees almost always win when Judge and Stanton homer in the same game. It doesn't happen that often. Then last night we also got a home run from Luke Voit. Massive shot to center field. Sounded like a cannon blast off the bat. And then Kyle Higashioka goes deep, opposite field. Yankees blow this one open 8-2, and they hang on to win. What a great performance by the Yankees. Completely dominant. And let's not forget about the defense. The defense has been pretty solid. Outfield looks great. Joey Gallo, automatic pretty much out there in left field. Gio Urshela back over there at third. And with Anthony Rizzo over at first base, the corners are really, really solid. DJ LeMahieu playing second base, and Velasquez is a smooth shortstop. The defense looks fantastic right now. I'm having a ton of fun. Earlier this year, when the Yankees were losing every night, I almost didn't even want to do this channel. It was so frustrating to get on every night and say, oh, well, they didn't score again. They went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position again. It was just so frustrating. But now that they're winning, it's kind of re-sparking my creative spirit. I woke up this morning and the first thing I did after I had my coffee was run to my computer and start recording this podcast and start putting together the background that you're looking at. Making this little Giancarlo Stanton billboard that you're looking at if you're watching on YouTube. It's just opened up this energy in me where I can't wait for the game to begin. I'm going to the movies this morning. I'm going to see a movie called No Man of God. It's about Ted Bundy. Actually, it's about this FBI profiler who interviewed Ted Bundy in his final days before they executed him. And it seems like there's a million Ted Bundy movies, but I find the guy fascinating. I just find the dark nature of humanity fascinating. I also like the Gandhi movie. Any good human story is interesting to me. So I'm doing that this morning. And then I'm going to come back. I'm not going to do a Yankees game night today because the game is in the afternoon. And 5 o'clock is my cutoff. So if the game begins before 5 o'clock, I don't do a Yankees game night now. But I will be doing one next time they have a night game. I'm liking the way those came out. I've been trying to design things that can go together quickly. So I've got a lot of automated processes in there. I've got to drop in the highlights. And then I've got these little segments that are already pre-recorded with music and layouts and stuff. And I've got a lot of presets. And all I've got to do is record my voiceover and sort of drag in the pieces that I want. And it should be able to come together pretty quickly. So you figure maybe a half an hour to 45 minutes of work per day to come out with Yankees Game Night. And I can record the freeze, which I'm doing right now more often. I've built this template out. All I got to do is record the audio now. Things are starting to come together for this channel, and I appreciate everybody who's been supporting it all season long and who continues to support the channel. I've been thinking about some of the guys who are not on the squad presently that were at the beginning of the season. Aaron Hicks, out for the season. Miguel Andujar, out for the season. Clint Frazier, probably out for the season. We don't know what's going to happen with Luis Severino. He's resuming his throwing program. I feel bad for some of these guys. But the team that we have now, the squad that we've put together, is a much better squad than the Yankees had on opening day. You can just feel it. There's something to the energy that having Gallo and Rizzo and even Velasquez, there's something about the energy of having those guys that's just changed the makeup of this team. You can't just cut through a bunch of righties now. Your defense is among the best in baseball. You've got a mix of veterans, but they're not old over-the-hill veterans. They're guys who are, still kind of in their prime. I think Gallo's probably in his prime for another couple of years. And a lot of people hate the strikeouts. They talked about it on the broadcast last night, where he's aware of what type of player he is. He doesn't care about the strikeouts. He knows who he is. Great defense, gets on base, draws walks. You've got so many guys on this roster now who work the count, but can still hit. Early on in this year, I felt like the Yankees had a lot of guys who would work the count and then hit a ground ball to shortstop. Have you noticed we've stopped making as many base running errors too? The Yankees seem to have corrected that. They've heeded the advice of the fans, which is learn how to play baseball. They've done much better fundamentally. And speaking of guys who are not here, Clint Frazier was a major part of the base running issues. He was constantly running into outs on the bases. And I like Clint Frazier. He's a good guy, but he is not a good base runner. He's just not. So the Yankees seem to have turned it around. I don't know how far this is going to go, but I feel good with Nestor Cortez on the mound today. And then you got Jordan Montgomery on Sunday. And then you got Corey Kluber coming back on Monday. I think Corey Kluber might be the end of the line because he's just coming back and just getting into his rhythm. He hasn't been a part of this team for a while. He hasn't faced major league hitters in a while. So I'm predicting the win streak now will go 15 games. 15 games. And I don't think any of us would be mad if the Yankees win 15 straight. One thing the Yankees do have to be careful about, and I don't have a ton of stats to back this up, but I'm sure if somebody did the research, shout out to Mr. Rao, who always makes great comments. Maybe he can handle the research on this. When teams win a lot of games in a row, like the Indians in 2017, the Rockies back in 2007, I believe. I think they went like 27-1 down the stretch, and then they got swept in the World Series. The A's in 2002. When teams win a lot of games in a row, sometimes when you lose, there's a bit of a letdown, and you can lose 2 or 3 in a row. Or you can go in a mini slump because your team has cooled off a little bit. The Yankees need to be careful not to let that happen. They need to keep their foot on the gas from now until November. Obliterate everyone in September. Have another month where you play 800 ball. Go into the playoffs as the division champion so you don't have to play a wild card game. And then just wipe out the American League. Right now, the way the Yankees are playing, I don't think anybody matches up with the Yankees. Maybe the Astros a little bit, but their pitching doesn't scare me. I hate but their pitching doesn't scare me. Zach Greinke doesn't scare me. He's going to be a free agent after the season. He's pitching for a contract. That's pretty much the only thing that, scares me a little bit about them. The Dodgers, though, if you get to the World Series, I feel like the Dodgers are going to the World Series. They're going to be a problem. So the Yankees do have their work cut out for them, but I think winning the division gives you a really good shot at getting to the World Series this year. You don't want to spend Garrett Cole in that first round, that wild card game. You want to set up your rotation for a division series where it's Garrett Cole, followed by probably Jordan Montgomery, possibly Jameson Taillon, depending on how he's throwing the ball. He's been a little bit struggling lately. Corey Kluber, we'll see how he looks. Nestor Cortez probably gets a start there. You might do one of those opener things. I hope the Yankees don't try and outsmart themselves this time. All right, guys, we go for 14 straight tonight with Nestor Cortez on the mound. I appreciate all the support. I'll see you next time.